Welcome back. We're making smoked meatballs glazed in a sweet and spicy barbecue sauce. This is one of my favorite appetizers. Skip the crock pot, let's use the smoker. So there's two main phases for making meatballs. You gotta obviously mix the meat up, but you also need to make a panade. We're gonna start with that today. A panade is a French word. It's used to describe the binder, which basically is a combination of breadcrumbs. I'm using a half cup of panko breadcrumbs, and then I'm gonna add in an egg and one yolk. This is gonna be enough for 2 pounds of meat. The reason why I'm mixing this ahead of time is because it's gonna give the breadcrumbs enough time to like moisturize and soak up all those flavors. I have 3 tablespoons of buttermilk. You can use regular milk if you don't have buttermilk. It's just good to have that little extra moisture. This is about 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt. I've got 1 teaspoon of black pepper, teaspoon of garlic powder. If you want to use fresh cloves, it is about 4 cloves for the teaspoon of garlic powder. And then my secret ingredient, I like celery salt. So I'm gonna use 1 teaspoon of celery salt and then a little bit more than 1 teaspoon of some smoked paprika, really just to add some color. Now, I think that adding fresh herbs adds a really great flavor, but this is really a good base for if you just want barbecue meatballs. So we're gonna add about 2 tablespoons of chives, but if you wanna customize it, use parsley, cilantro, whatever you wanna grab in there. You can use dried herbs too. And then of course, I gotta have more chili. So chili flakes, got about 1 teaspoon of that. And then last but not least, Worcestershire sauce. We've got about 1 tablespoon or so, maybe a little extra glug. And then what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna get a fork and kind of mix this up. Break up those yolks, and it's important to do this because this is the easiest way to equally blend in all the seasonings and spices into your meatballs. And trust me, when the breadcrumbs soak up everything and it's in that meat, it's just gonna make everything so much more tender. So with this mixed up, you can see that it's nice and moist here. If it's more dry and like super pasty, just add like 1 tablespoon of milk or so, kind of loosen it up. But this is pretty good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and get the meat out of the fridge and we'll get to mixing. All right, so here we've got the ground meat. I've got a mixture of beef and pork. If you wanna go all beef, I recommend 80-20. Otherwise, the combo really lends itself well to making any kind of meatballs. And I'll just go ahead and mix this lightly so I can get the meats dispersed a little bit. And then we're gonna go ahead and mix in the panade. Then we'll just wanna get this mix in here. Don't squeeze hard and make the meat really dense. We just wanna get all of the flavors kind of mixed around evenly. This is always the fun part, making meatballs. Now for smoked meatballs, it's about 1.5 ounces, which is around, let's just say 45-ish grams. And if you're a sports guy, golf ball size, that's what I would recommend. So just keep your gloves on, roll them out. It's okay if one's a little bigger than the other. Just a tip while I'm doing this, make sure the meat is cold, otherwise the fat starts to kind of melt. So I definitely will do this right as the ground meat has come out of the fridge. All right, so the 2 pounds made 20, so 10 per pound. I know math. Anyway, I'm gonna leave these in the fridge while I preheat the smoker. I'm gonna set the smoker to 265. So some recommended equipment to have the meatballs sit on the smoker. Not every smoker grate is gonna be really friendly to meatballs. So if you've made larger ones, I recommend like a wire rack that you'd find like in a baking sheet. So this is a jerky mat. It's kind of fine mesh. I'll link this in the description. It holds the meatballs really well and doesn't kind of make the shape get all funny on the smoker. So either way, it's really helpful to have one of these two. Okay, now I'll get them in the fridge. We'll heat up the smoker. I'll be right back. All right, smoker's at 265. You can see I've got the jerky mat in here, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw the meatballs on. It's nice because they're not gonna fall through the grates. Got this little mat, they'll get all that smoke flavor. All right, so the meatballs are in. I am gonna let these cook for about an hour. Our target temperature is around 150. While these are cooking, we can go make the sauce. Nighty night. While the meatballs are smoking, let's go ahead and make my signature sweet heat barbecue sauce. All right, we're gonna start with 1 cup of ketchup. This is a ketchup-based barbecue sauce. Gonna add 1/3 cup water, 1/3 cup white vinegar, 1/2 cup dark brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of honey, tablespoon or so of molasses, tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, tablespoon of soy. All right, now to the powders. We have a tablespoon of chili powder, tablespoon of smoked paprika, teaspoon of garlic powder, chipotle powder, another teaspoon, and then half teaspoon or so of ground black pepper as I drop the cups. The cups are fine. All right, then I'm just gonna stir all of this together and let this cook until it's at a very low simmer, and then we'll just continue to stir and make sure everything kind of comes together. It just takes a couple minutes. Once it starts to simmer, turn the heat down just a little bit. You don't want it to boil. Keep it at that low simmer for a bit, and we're almost done. And once the sauce cools down and everything's mixed, we're gonna go ahead and transfer it to a bowl because we're gonna dunk the meatballs in some of the sauce before we put them back on the smoker right at the very end. This just makes it easy. So we'll keep the sauce handy. There's no need to put it in the fridge. It's okay if it's warm. In fact, it kind of makes it easier. Let's go check on those meatballs in a bit because I'm ready. All right, it's been a little over an hour. Ooh, those are looking good. Nice and smoky, super juicy. And these are just about that 150 mark for most of them. So let's go ahead and get them sauced. Now you don't have to do this part. I like to just dunk it in the sauce, kind of shake most of it off, and then put it right back on here. Kind of like burnt ends. You're getting that sauce going, kind of caramelizes right back on the smoker. Looking good. Let's let these cook for about 5-10 more minutes just till that sauce caramelizes on there. It gets nice and tacky, and then we'll pull them in. All right. Ooh, those are looking nice and sticky. Smoky, sticky. This is what I'm talking about right here. All right, meatballs are ready. Let's put a little bit of this warm sauce on the plate so it looks nice and they stay moist. We can serve them up. You could add these into some pasta. You can make a meatball sandwich. Either way, they are gonna disappear. Hit it with a little bit more sauce, because, I mean, they're already saucy. And that's it, smoked barbecue meatballs. This is so easy to make. You can see how nice and smoky they are. Obviously, they're glazed with a little bit of that barbecue sauce too. There are times if I'm gonna meal prep these, I'll probably skip that barbecue sauce step and make just like, I don't know, double, triple this recipe, and then you can vacuum seal them. They're awesome. Well, anyway, let's take a look inside. That way you can see kind of what the meatball looks like inside. I'm trying to slice it without smashing it. There you go. You can see the pork and the beef kind of ribbon throughout here. It's got a little bit of a smoke ring. Obviously, it's really, really moist as well. It's so tender from the breadcrumbs, like that panade that we made in the beginning. It totally melts right in your mouth. Go check out the recipe. Let me know what you think in the comments. We'll see you next time. Cheers. That's a smoky meatball.